Hey everyone, Mo here, and before the video begins, I just want to let you guys know that my schedule has opened up for me to do coaching again. So if you're interested in private one-on-one coaching for me to help you, whether you're a newer player and you want to excel at the game very quickly and learn the fundamentals without developing any bad habits early, or if you're an experienced player who's already maybe platinum or diamond in your top 1%, but you need some help filling in the gap to get you to that 0.01%, to make you just some of the best, then hit me up on Discord and I can get you in some private one-on-one coaching lessons to help you polish up any skills you want to refine and help you learn all of the secrets to becoming a top player. That's it. I hope you enjoy the video. Hey everybody, Mo here, and today I'm bringing you guys a different style of videos. This video is 5 tips on how to get to Masters from a seasonal champion. So for those of you that don't know, my name's Mo Emotional, and I've won a seasonal championship for Legends of Runeterra, which is, at the time, it was before Worlds happened, so it was like the biggest tournament they had. And now it's the same sizes. The big tournaments before Worlds. So this is the official Riot tournament. I won one of those, and so I'm here to give you guys advice on how to take whatever rank you are, whatever level you play at, how to help you go from all the way down to Iron to Masters. I've done this multiple times. Obviously, you have to do this to qualify for seasonals, but I've literally sat down and played in a 30-hour span straight and gone from Iron 4 to Masters, just to show people that it is possible to do in one sitting, and to show people that it's something that can be done, and it's not always like super lucky and that types of stuff. So before we get into the videos, I wanted to remind you guys that 70% of the people that watch my content aren't actually subscribed to me. So if you enjoy this type of informational content, the deck guides and competitive content, make sure to subscribe below so you get notifications whenever I post anything, and leave a comment letting me down below if you have any other type of content you want to see from me, if you have any other tip videos or deck guide videos or something like that, because it helps me out a lot with the YouTube algorithm, and it helps me know what content to bring to you guys. Another thing I'll mention is I do offer coaching, and I go over this kind of a little bit in the video. So if you are interested in any type of private coaching or one-on-one coaching, if you feel like you've done these 5 steps but you still don't really know if there's something else you're doing wrong, or you want to kind of speed up the process, one-on-one private coaching is great, and I do offer that down in the description below as well. So that's going to be it for this intro. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and let's start talking about the 5 tips to get you to Masters. All right, so the first tip to hitting Masters is to play good decks. So what this means, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to play like the best deck in the game or a tier 1 deck. It really just means like play the best version of your deck that you want to play. So if you do want to play something that's kind of more fun, like Fearsomes, or that isn't necessarily considered great or the best deck in the game or tier 1 or anything like that, you could just find the deck you want to play and then try and build the most optimal version of it. Of course, you can hit Masters with any deck if you're a good enough player. I have plenty of friends that they make it their goal to hit Masters with a brand new homebrew every single season. And I think that stuff is really, really cool. But if your goal is just to climb ladder and just like kind of get there quickly, or get to, Masters rank before the end of the season, and you just want to get it done, qualify for seasonal, stuff like that, then I can really just recommend you to play good decks. Play whatever the best decks are. LoR and really any card game usually has balancing issues. Not necessarily that the balancing team is bad, but more or less that it's just inherent that in card games there's going to be a handful of decks that are just strictly stronger and better than the rest of the decks in the pool. That's why at tournaments you see the exact same deck show up all the time. That's why when you look on the ladder, the Masters ladder, you'll see the exact same decks all the time. And it's just because those decks are strong, and that's why people play them. So tip number 1 is just to play a strong deck, or the strongest version of whatever deck it is you are trying to play. Some tools to help you find these decks are like Runeterra.ar, Mobalytics. A lot of times if you go to a streamer, they'll ask you like, or you can ask them like, what are the best decks, and they'll tell you. And if you want them to edit your specific deck and say like, hey, I really like playing Fearsomes, I really like playing, XYZ deck, can you help me like make this good enough to climb ladder with? Most of the time there's a channel point redemption thing you can do to say like, oh, will you like edit my deck for me? Or if you could just donate like $5, then every streamer in LoR will probably just edit the deck for you and say like, here's the best deck. You can even get them to play your deck sometimes with the right channel points, depending on the stream. So you can see how they pilot your deck, see what changes they make to it. That way that could also help you out, figure out like, oh, Mr. Streamer is over here playing my deck. They changed these cards. They'll usually give you the fixed deck code back after. I'll say, oh, they fixed these cards. This is how they are playing the deck. That's really cool. That's a great learning experience for me. They're probably a better player than me. That's why I'm asking them for help. So I'm going to take that now and then use that knowledge given to you to climb ladder. Tip number 2 is going to be quality over quantity. So what this means is basically just play the game when you want to play the game and you're going to play well. I've played LoR before for 30 hours straight. Like, no exaggeration, I have played for 30 hours straight. And I can tell you that the games when I played at the beginning were really good and I'd have a really good win rate. And towards the end, they felt like shit and my games went downhill really, really, really fast. And I started losing more LP than I was gaining. I actually lost more LP overall. I think I lost like 50 LP total in that session, even though I had a positive win rate, because I lost a lot of my games towards the end, so I streaked down all my LP. So it's very important to just play when you feel excited and actually happy to play the game. Don't ever force yourself to climb ladder just because like you feel like, oh, I need to play ladder, so I need to grind, I need to hit masters, I need to do whatever. Don't do that. Just play games. If you play like 3 games a day and you win 2 out of 3 of those games every day, let's say you're in like, gold or platinum. If you do that, then you're going to go up in LP every single day, So just play like a few games a day if that's what you want to. If you just want to play really, really high quality games and try your heart out and try really, really hard to win, and you will climb that way. It won't be the fastest climb, don't get me wrong. Like if you want the fastest climb, then sure, just load up some aggro deck and spam games out there and just like dominate. But otherwise, it's best to just play, as many games as you want to, but just try your hardest in these games, and that's how you will improve as a player. Is by trying really, really hard and figuring out like, oh, I can do these, I can play well, I don't play well, these are my issues, these aren't my issues. Tip number 3 is going to be consistency. So what this means is learn your fundamentals and just practice your fundamentals. Like, there's so many top players that will throw humongous tournaments. Like, we've seen somebody throw a top 8 at Worlds. We've seen people throw in seasonals multiple times just off of basic fundamentals of not attacking in the right order, not challenging the right unit, not passing correctly, not casting their spells in the right order, forgetting to attack when they rally, stuff like that. Like, literally, so much of this game comes down to like hardcore fundamentals and just saying like, okay, these are the very basics of the game: attacking in the right order, casting my spells in the right order, counting how much mana I'm gonna have for the next turn, make sure I have enough mana for these cards in the future. Stuff like these are the very basics of the game, and if you just practice these, you will hit masters with absolutely zero problem. And when I do coaching, fundamentals is one of the most important things that I kind of drill into the person that I'm coaching, because most of the time it comes down to they are really good with this one deck, but they'll just kind of throw games here and there. So it's like, oh, I didn't do my fundamentals correctly here, lost a game, minus 20 LP. Oh, lost a game here, minus 20 LP. And then like I had somebody one time that was a pretty solid player, but they would randomly, it's like mess up on their fundamentals and throw the game. And I told them, because they had this mindset of like, oh, it was just like one game, whatever. He's like, I'll just do it right like next time. Or like, oh, it's no big deal. It's just one game. It's just 20 LP. Like, I'll get it right in the future. It was just like a stupid mistake. Won't happen again. I told him, we met once a week. So I said, hey, over the course of this next week, I want you to tally down how many times you like threw a game off of like some stupid little like fundamental thing where it's like, oh, you should have won the game there. You had every right to win the game there, but you just kind of misplayed a fundamental or threw and it cost you the game. He came back to me and he said that happened to him 22 times. That is over, you multiply that by 20, right? So because once you hit platinum and diamond, you start gaining 20 LP per win. So that's like 200 and something LP, right? Or 400 LP. Like, that is so much LP. to lose for just like little tiny mistakes, right? Like you think about it, you're like over the course of a week, right? Like over a course of a week, that's 7 days. So, I mean, that's only 3 times a day. Like if you sit there and you play for like 6 hours, that's once every 3 hours. You're like, that doesn't sound bad, right? Because you're like, oh, I threw 3 times a day. But when you look back on it, you're like, oh, wow, I like casually threw away 400 LP. That is literally your climb from platinum to diamond. Or that is literally your climb from diamond to masters. So you could have this entire division's worth, like ranks worth of LP that was kind of just thrown away to these like super little baby mistakes. And that quickly made them realize like, oh, I really need to slow down. I need to focus on my fundamentals. I really need to play this game more correct. And that's why like fundamentals are super, super key. Let's see here. What else do I have written down for this part? Have I mentioned practicing good fundamentals? Yeah, practice your fundamentals. So I guess the next question would be, Mo, what are fundamentals? And for the sake of this video, we're just going to go over the super basic fundamentals. We're not going to get into all of the advanced fundamentals because I think if you're looking up a YouTube video on like how to get to masters, it probably best to start with the basic fundamentals first, and then if you want to get more advanced, you can hire a coach or maybe check out a more advanced how to hit masters tutorial. So for this one, the fundamentals we're going to talk about is like passing, attack order, mana management, and spell order, like the order you cast your spells and stuff like that. So these are some great fundamentals to practice. You know, passing, figure out when do you want to be playing cards? When's it best for you to not play cards? A lot of times what you want to do is you have to tell yourself, does my opponent skipping this turn, or if this turn ends, will it be better for me or my opponent? Usually one of your guys' decks is going to try and go into the late game. One of your deck is going to get more value in the late game. And it's really easy to, or sorry, not really easy, it's really hard sometimes to really evaluate, hey, I don't know if I should be playing cards here. I don't know if I should waste my opponent's mana. The answer is you kind of just have to practice a lot or ask people or watch other streamers stream. And say like, oh, hey, I'm playing this like tempo mid-range deck. I can just play a unit and pass. If my opponent wants to pass, I'll hit them for 5 and I'll pass again. If they just want to keep taking this hit for 5 over and over and over again, I mean, they're going to die in a couple of turns, right? So you force them to play cards, and then once they play cards, you can kind of have this game back and forth of like, okay, well, you use mana first, so now I'm advantaged, so then I get to use my mana, and now we're back to even, but I came ahead in board and stuff like that. Passing is by far the hardest fundamental to practice, but the other fundamentals aren't that hard. Attack order. This is very simple. This is stuff like, oh, do they have a lifelink unit or a lifesteal unit? And you're like, oh, I need to challenge that unit to the very end so they don't gain life before I lethal them. Sometimes it's like I need to put my overwhelm units in front so that way they have to block these units or they die. Stuff like that. Mana management. This is counting your mana between this turn and the next turn that you have an action for. So for instance, let's say you have 2 wallops in your hand. You're like, okay, I can beat this overwhelm deck if I just keep 6 mana open for the next turn. That might mean don't play your 1-drop. I've had a lot of times in coaching where my guy that I've been coaching has played their 1-drop. We go into the next turn. Now they're 1 mana short of their combo. Like they don't have mana for Wallop, or they didn't have mana for like Vengeance Vile Feast to play around Spell Shield because they wanted to play a 1-drop. And when you look back at it, you're like, why did I do this like really stupid thing that doesn't make sense? Like this isn't helping me not lose the game. All it's doing is taking a mana from you. And it's little things like that that you think just sound really stupid, and you're like, oh, that'll never happen to me, or like, oh, this doesn't matter. But I've seen literally like some of the best players in North America lose seasonal championships because they're just playing cards for no reason or doing like little tiny mistakes. Like I'm not going to call the guy out. If you know him, but this guy literally lost a seasonal championship title and like $6,000 or $7,000 because he cast a spell when his opponent when he was literally winning the game. The next turn, all he had to do was pass. He casts a spell for no reason, and his opponent uses that spell to then win the game out of nowhere. Like literally 20-0'd him on the spot because the guy who was winning decided to just randomly throw the game away off of a basic fundamental play of not passing. So it really can happen to anybody. I promise you it'll happen to you. It probably has and will and always will happen to you. Fundamentals are the building, like the building block of every good competitive player and every just good player in any game, any sport. You look at those people that are great, they probably have great fundamentals. Tip number 4 is going to be review your games or have somebody review them with you. What this means is basically you make a lot of mistakes. I make a lot of mistakes. Everybody makes a lot of mistakes, but you won't always see those mistakes while you're playing. There's a lot of times where people will come away from a game or a streamer and they'll say like, oh man, I played perfectly. They kind of just high rolled me, blah, 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 right? We've all heard it. We've all said it. That's a very common thing in card games across any card game. The thing is, you probably did misplay somewhere, or there was probably somewhere where a play was, more optimal to do than the one you pulled off. And it's hard to see that in the moment because your brain is focusing on playing the actual game and thinking of things to go in the future and stuff like that. It's not really hard to see like where you messed up or where you could have messed up because that's not what you're thinking about. So what you should do is, record your games, go back and look at them, play your games with a friend that you trust their judgment on so they can watch and say like, maybe take notes, not interrupt you while you're playing because they don't want to distract you and make you lose more or play worse. But maybe after the game, they have some notes written down saying like, oh, you did this, you should have done this. This was kind of a bad play. This really turned the game around. This cost you the loss, stuff like that. That is something that's very common. Getting a coach is basically having a friend teach you, except your coach is probably somebody that has a bunch of accolades or is really, really good at LoR. I'm not saying your friend isn't really, really good, but your friend's probably not a world champion. Your friend's probably not a seasonal champion. Your friend's probably not a 2-time seasonal finalist, 6-time seasonal top cut player. So like any coach, it doesn't even have to be me, which I do offer coaching, by the way, but link in the description. But if you don't want coaching from me, there's plenty of people you can get coaching from, depending on different prices or types of people you want to interact with because of their like play style and stuff like that. And the other thing you could do for this is to stream your games. Go to Twitch, go to whatever your streaming platform is, stream your games, save the VOD, and that way you can just go back and watch them whenever you want to. Even if you stream to 0 people, don't look at it as like I'm streaming to 0 people and my stream sucks. You can just look at this as like, oh, I have a really good way now to save VODs of all of my games. And you can go back when you're relaxing, like eating dinner, and you're like, man, I want to get better. You have an hour here, 30 minutes here, go back, watch a game or two, and just really write down and notice, like, this is a perfect way to see all of your bad habits and to see everything that you're doing wrong. And that way you can go have a conscious effort to fix them in the future. Because if you never go back and see what you're doing wrong, then you will never know what to do and what you need to do to actually fix these issues. And if you don't know how to fix the issues, well, then it's going to be really, really hard for you to get better if you don't know what to fix in the first place. And the last tip here, tip number 5, I think it's number 5, should be number 5, is to watch better people than you play the game. And this is streamers. There are definitely a lot of streamers out there that are more for fun streamers that don't take the game very serious. Not that they're necessarily bad players, but, they don't really take the game that seriously, and they usually play more for fun decks. But there are plenty of streamers and YouTubers out there that try really, really hard and can show you how to play the game super, super well. And almost everybody I've met in the LoR community will talk back to you if you're in their chat. If you ask them a question, they'll more than likely give you a reason. If you say like, oh, hey, Mr. Streamer, Mrs. Streamer, why did you do this? Most of the time, they'll tell you why. They'll tell you like, oh, because I'm playing around this card, or because I want to save mana for this, or because I'm hoping to draw into this. And then, it'll happen, and you'll be like, oh, wow, Mr. Streamer and Mrs. Streamer is like very smart. I didn't see that play, or I would have done something differently, but obviously they were more correct than me. Watching streamers is honestly the way that I got good at almost every game that I've ever been good at. Like, right now, I'm currently going through a phase where I want to get really good at teamfight tactics so I can hope to compete in the world championship. For those of you that don't know, I actually competed in TFT and was trying really hard in TFT before LoR even came out. And what I did when I was at my peak in TFT was I literally watched like 6+ hours of TFT streams, and then I'd go and play for like 2 hours. Like, that was my ratio of watching better people and playing, was I'd watch like 6 hours, I'd only play for 2. I'd go back and I'd watch and learn for 6 hours, and I'd go and only play for 2. And this goes back to the quality over quantity thing. And this just really helped me out with learning how to play the game. So that way I wasn't, one, like developing bad habits, And 2, I wasn't getting frustrated because I knew the meta. I knew like how to play the meta. I knew like when to level, when to all that stuff. So in LoR, the equivalent would be like, I know what the meta decks are. I know how to play the meta decks. I know how to mulligan them. I know how to play around other meta decks. Like all of this really good information that you are getting for literally free from these Twitch streams. Like coaching is really nice and is a really good way to bump yourself to the next level because it's one-on-one individual. The streamer or whoever your coach is can really just focus on you. But if you just want something more broad, Twitch streams are literally free content. It's just like, it's free coaching. It's just better ways to help you learn the game better and shows you how to play certain decks in a better way. So that streaming is OP. So that's it. That's the top 5 tips to hit masters from a seasonal champion. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you enjoyed these guides or these styles of videos or gameplay videos, make sure to leave a sub and then a comment down below letting me know what video you guys want to see next. Really appreciate it. Join my Discord, link will be down in the description below. That's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.